Welcome back to the Clappy and Frank Show, episode number 19. Today we have a world-famous celebrity, the one and only Shlomie Hershkop, owner, CEO of Wheels to Lease.
Not to be confused with the Crown Heights Hershkop.
I think they're cousins.
We are cousins, yeah. We don't run away from...
But I've never seen a Hershkop in a suit. Not the Crown Heights ones.
Not only in a suit, he's so not Lubavitch. I asked him the last few days, what time are we going to meet? He says, why can't we do the recording at 6 a.m.? I almost fainted. Guys, it's right now 10:07 a.m.
And I'll be honest with you, the reason I wanted to be so early, because I know you guys couldn't do it. So that's why I asked for that. But I gave in pretty quickly to the 10 o'clock.
I was telling Moshe the last couple of weeks, there's so much noise and buzz about the car leasing business that I had to find somebody that's in the business that's reputable. Everybody says the most reputable, honest guy in the industry is Shlomie Hershkop.
Oh, thank you
I never heard of you. Wheels to Lease, I heard the name the last 40 years. You said you started in 1998?
1988.
1988. So I reached out to you and you were not interested. So of course I had to harass you and beg you to come on the show. Tell me a little bit about your background and upbringing, how a nice Jewish boy gets into this car business.
Actually, it's funny the way it happened. I went to Turo to become an accountant, like a good Jewish boy. And during the summer break, I was looking for work because I always, as a kid, would work in bakeries and bagel shops and, do whatever I can to make a few dollars. I even put up sukkahs that would fall down the first night.
Is that a lost art? Today's kids' summer jobs don't look like that?
You have a lot of kids that still do it. The right parenting teaches kids to do that. All my kids were always hustlers, always trying to make a buck. I'm at this place and I'm working for Ahava Milk, and I'm doing it for a month, waking up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, which for a 17-year-old kid is not normal. And I'm doing the work, and one of the arts...
Delivering? What are you doing?
Delivering the milk to camps up in the country, in the Catskills. And one of the arts of delivering milk is when you put down these containers, these 7, 8 containers that are piled up upon each other. If you put it down a little too quickly, it all falls down. And it happened one time too many, and I got fired, and I quit the same moment. It was one of those situations. And I'm at my sister's bungalow colony, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't sit around doing nothing all day. And this guy goes to me, a Lubavitcher guy. He says, hey, I need a guy to run around for me. I'm in the car business.
Who was that?
Some guy from Crown Heights. And I say, great, I'll do it. And I show up to work. It was on 13th Avenue, 38th Street. And, running around, doing all the work that he doesn't want to do. And he had a partner at a time, and his partner wanted out. And I hear them talk. I say, my brother-in-law's looking for a business. My father would put them, in touch. And this guy says, hey, I'll sell you my half. And my father goes ahead, puts up the money for it. My father was not a wealthy man. He put together the money for it. It was, I think, like 50 grand or something. And we put it in the name of the company then was Wheels to Go. And I was still the schlepper, and this is for my brother-in-law. And things weren't working out, and they needed more help. So now I'm pushing off already college. I did my first year in Turo. Now I'm pushing that off to help him out. And then one morning we come into the place, and the place is empty. All the cars are missing. Okay, now you know why I didn't mention the guy's name. And the guy said, if you want everything back, now you got to buy me out. So we bought out everybody. Okay, my father, I don't know how he did it. He did it for us.
What did he do for a living?
He was a painter, hardworking guy, worked with his hands. He was a talented man.
Artistic painter.
Yeah, he was an artist. He did murals. He did paint houses. He was a special person. And he always told us, he says, whatever you need to be successful, I am there for you. And that, I think, was one of the pivotal moments for me. Is like, I can do this because I always have somebody to fall back on, which we never had to, Baruch Hashem. And my brother-in-law, we started with the used cars, and not enjoyable business. And this guy comes over to me, a Syrian guy. It's a rough business, especially 30 years ago. It was tough to make an honest living, put it that way, in the used car business. And
so the stereotypical used car salesman title is correct.
Yeah, okay. I would say that. And we're going ahead, and this guy comes over to me. It's actually a Syrian boy. He says, "Hey, can you get me this type of new car?" And I'm like, of course, I say yes, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm making calls, and I closed the deal. I got him the car. This guy was happy. It was a Saab convertible. I forgot the name of I think his last name was Dayan. And he was so happy. And I go to my brother-in-law, hey, let's do this. My brother-in-law said, that's not the business for us. We're doing used cars. And I said, no, let's give it a shot. And then I started advertising in Fortune. What was it? It was a Jewish magazine. I think Fortune magazine was. Fortune magazine was Country Yossi.
I remember you from Country Yossi.
Yeah. And we had an ad. We basically took all the logos from all the manufacturers. Now I know that's infringement of their patents, but I did it then. And we wrote guaranteed lowest prices, do what, whatever it is to take a deal. And we were doing business, and it was clean business. Is buy, sell, no games. And slowly but surely.
And what you just call up dealerships and try to haggle? What was your process?
Again, I didn't know what I was doing in the bebeginning.
But had your first deals?
So it's calling up dealers and just doing the negotiating. It was, I don't know how I did it. I'll be honest with you. I just went forward.
Just pick the phone and start calling every dealer.
I had no fear.
Gotcha.
I had no fear. And there was no internet then. So we actually went through a phone book. And then I would, I don't remember how I actually would go out of state, because the out of state dealers were a little easier, and I would get it from the manufacturer. I think they had pamphlets of all the dealers. It was unique. And I was I think the second guy in this business doing it.
Second from religious guy in Brooklyn.
Second
person, period.
Broker in business in New York. I don't know of anybody else who did this at the time.
You're saying in 1988 it wasn't like every Tom, Dick, and Harry was advertising that they lease people cars.
No, over here now. You see, then you couldn't do it in basements. Today, everybody does it in a basement, But and it snowballed from there. My brother-in-law stuck with the used cars. I stuck with the new cars, and the rest is history.
When I came to your office last week on Mill Avenue, Strickland Avenue?
On Mill Avenue.
Mill
right,
Avenue.
Off of Strickland.
It's off this Mill and Strickland. Huge parking lot.
I thought we got into a phone company with all those all those, what's it called, the boom trucks? No, the boom trucks.
Oh, yeah, you had those like cherry picker trucks. You had a lot of used cars. You had a lot of new cars. You had guys fixing up cars. You had a lot going on. So even though you said that the used car business is not like the the most easiest business, but you're now 40 years later, it looks like you do a compilation of new, used, leasing, boom trucks.
Yeah. No. So what happened was, up to COVID, the only used cars I would do is wholesale. So these cars are coming off lease. I would try to buy them out to save the customers money, because what happened was, when the typical Brooklyn customer gives back their cars, they would, it would look like they went through Beirut or Gaza. And so we'd buy the car, wholesale it out, save the customer some money. So COVID comes, and new cars are very difficult to get. You got to pay top dollar. So we couldn't make money selling new cars, yet we needed to sell the new cars in order to get the used cars, the trade-ins, the lease returns. Not only that, we would have to give back the customer equity in their used cars. So we had to pivot, and now we're selling new cars and used cars, and we're doing retail, which I try to stay away from the used car retail. And then that didn't last forever. And then we're starting to sell used cars retail, and now we're doing new cars, used cars. We're doing a lot of commercial business. It's a niche only because most of the local dealerships don't touch the commercial business.
That's why all those boom trucks.
Yeah, so that's where we got the boom trucks, we got the cargo vans, the 14-footers, 16-footers. We got the bakeries buying from us, moving companies. HVAC companies, everybody needs these trucks, whether it's new or used. So we have dedicated guys just for commercial, new, commercial used. We get them lines of credit with the bank, so that they don't need to start each truck or each car. They got to get, okay, now let's get an approval. We got you $500,000. You can draw down from those cars, $20,000, $30,000. Some of these boom trucks are $150,000, So they already have it set. So they're not starting from scratch every time they need a. So
using all your existing relationships and maneuvering and switching around.
Of course, yeah. It's constant pivoting. It's in order to stay relevant.
Shlomi, I want to ask you a question. Dave Ramsey is considered one of the biggest gurus in the financial markets. Half the From world, a lot of our viewers are the From world, they don't know anything he says. But seems like one mikvah line he said is like everywhere you go. It's not a car lease, it's a car fleece. And now every kosher money show or every show in the market or I'm not picking on any particular show, everybody always, they have on all these Rabbanim and Rosh Hashivas saying, how could a guy lease a car for $300 to $700 a month? My schwager bought a Toyota Camry that was 23 years old, and he paid $8,000, and when he gave it back 21 years later, it still had equity in the car. And they sit there with these shows and these graphs on how it's $12 a month. I grew up with used cars. The noises were so loud. I knew my father was coming home at night, and you always thought the car's about to explode. The muffler, the cylinders, the oils would never change properly. I had such anxiety of car lights, going to the country, saying to Hillam that we should get there, that I grew up like used cars are just service. Yeah, there's the guy that got the Honda and the Toyota that he took it for steamings and oil changes. But I'm like, I'll pay $1 million a month to have a brand new car and after 3 years just dump it back.
And he's an accountant background, so
numbers, that works for me. But the first way you have to look at it is you have your new car and your used car. Okay. Both items are a depreciating item. That means you buy it for $10,000, you're never getting $10,000 for that vehicle again unless COVID comes. But otherwise, a car is the depreciating item. Now, when you go ahead and say a random statement, it doesn't pay to buy new, or it doesn't pay to lease new, or it only pays to buy used, it makes no sense because it really depends on the time that you're ready to get the car. So, for example, when you buy a brand new car, there are 3 ways to purchase that new car. You can purchase the vehicle, you write a check, cash.
Today's cars are $50,000, $60,000.
Whatever it is.
It's a lot of money.
People save up for it. It's a big purchase. They pay for it, whether it's $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. Doesn't matter. The option is to purchase it by cash. The next option is financing. So sometimes you'll have special financing as low as 1.9, 2.9. Regular rates today, we're doing this in 2026 January. It's interest rates are like on the low end, 4.9, 5.5, right around there. And then you have leasing. Leasing is just another form of financing. So when somebody tells you it doesn't pay to lease and it doesn't do a side-by-side comparison, it's ridiculous. I don't understand. These guys are real guys, and these guys mean it, and they believe it. I believe that you cannot make a statement like that unless you look at the numbers.
So your lease is really lease to own.
That's the way you need to look at it. So when you buy the car cash, and you compare it to financing, so after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, the difference would be one car you paid finance charges, whether it's $1,500, $3,000, whatever that finance charge. So if you paid $30,000 for the new car and you paid $34,000 in financing, that $4,000 difference is the finance charge, right? It's no big deal. Leasing is the same way. So leasing is basically a balloon at the end of the lease where you have an option to purchase the vehicle. So you go
always, the lease always comes with that option?
Always.
Not always.
Not always? No.
Tesla does not allow it. But there are some companies that don't allow it. Most companies would allow it. Most companies, you want a fixed residual, it's called. It's a balloon. And by having a fixed number, you're able to really now compare buying, financing, and leasing. So you take your monthly payments, you multiply by the term, you add the residual, which is whatever that costs to purchase at the end of the lease, and then you add any other fees that are unique to leasing, not the DMV fees, because across the board, that'll be the same. We're talking about the bank fee, and if there's disposition fees, we do leases without disposition fees most of the time, but you add the bank fee, and then you look at that number, you say, okay, luxury is leasing is a luxury, right? Simple. You get a new car every 3 years. How phenomenal is that, right? But let's lease this vehicle, and then with in mind to purchase this vehicle at the end of the lease. And remember, when you purchase it at the end of the lease, you still need to finance it typically, if you compare it to financing. You take all those numbers and you average out the rate. Yes, it's more money. The question is how much more money? So now, if you're the type of person who says, I cannot deal with a car breaking down every once in a while, I don't want to be out of warranty, So somebody who doesn't want to be out of warranty, the Dave Ramsey will say, then buy a warranty on that new car when you buy it brand new. Yeah, but now you're adding $2,500, $3,000 to the cost of the vehicle. So now it starts evening out that dollar amount. And not to say leasing will be cheaper. Sometimes it can be cheaper. Sometimes the manufacturer wants you to lease the vehicle because statistically, people who lease a car will stay with the same manufacturer time and time again. So someone who gets a Camry, every 3 years, you'll see him typically with a Camry, or he'll upgrade to the Avalon, if they don't even make that anymore. But so the manufacturer sometimes will push the leasing for that. So just to say randomly it doesn't pay to do one, it doesn't make sense.
It's just another financing option.
Again, somebody who pays cash. Now, again, if he's only making 0.5% in the bank, yeah, use the cash because you're only making 0.5%. Why pay 5%? But now, if you can put it into a CD or a money market or anything that makes 3-4%, right, and that money now is compounding, it meets up at a certain point. So cash doesn't make sense a lot also. So again, the answer is never pays to buy by cash. It never pays to buy used. It doesn't make sense. You really got to look at the numbers. New versus used. Used is a different type of buyer. Somebody who wants new. You understand? And if the guy owns it for 5-6 years, yeah, at least he had a brand new. He knows his car. He knows he took care of it. So it's not the wrong decision to buy new. And that's why I'll lease brand new, sell brand new, finance brand new, sell used car, finance used cars, even lease used cars. So all that's available, but just to say a blanket statement, nah, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, when people say today's car companies are really banks, what does that statement mean?
When you say banks,
like they're really just banks financing cars.
No. So every manufacturer has what they call typically a captive bank. So
I have a Mazda 2 times in a row. It's called, I pay my bills to Mazda Financial Services. Is that their bank?
So that's a captive bank. So a captive bank. So you have the auto business, the manufacturer, right, and you have the distributors, which are the dealers, and then you have now the dealer needs help selling their cars. So I remember this was about 7-8 years ago. 8 years ago, Nissan couldn't get rid of the Nissan Sentras, and they needed to push their Sentras out. So together, the captive bank, which was Nissan Credit, and the manufacturer put together a program where anybody can get that car at a ridiculously low payment. So you had a guy who had 2 repossessions, he still got a car. You understand? They were that desperate to move those vehicles. So a captive bank is what it sounds like. They're captive to the manufacturer.
So it's owned by the manufacturer? It's separate company?
It's not owned. It's a separate company. But it's backed by the manufacturer, so they technically will never lose money. You understand? The risk is really on the manufacturer, but they're there as a separate business entity. It's like Honda and Toyota really don't have a tough time. They don't need any help from the manufacturer. But a lot of times you'll have whether it's Mazda, whether it's Subaru, these guys they need a little bit of push. The manufacturer will go subsidize their interest rates. So now the dealers are more competitive to the other,
so would you say markets. Mazda and Subaru, if you have bad credit, you're more likely to get approved?
No, it depends. There's today I would say Mitsubishi and Ford would be the go-to.
If you have bad credit.
Yeah, but not bad credit.
But not as good.
Yeah.
I had a friend that tried to lease a car years ago, and everybody was denying him, and he was able to get a Ford. It's very interesting.
Right. It depends. It's timing.
Why is Ford willing to forgive people's credit issues?
It's they want to push those vehicles. They're not desperate. They're a captive. They I guess statistically they'll think that they're not going to lose as much money, than the next guy, and they'll go ahead. They'll get big down payments from these guys. They make these guys work for their approval.
You look very young for your age. I'm not going to, based on how many years you're in business, you're not a youngster. I find that the car business every business has a lot of stress. I find that the car business has millions of details. So, for example, when my car lease is up, I have to figure out how to call the company and arrange an end of lease inspection. and the DMV, and if you're transferring the plates, when is it, and how many months. When you get the car, it has to get inspection. If the dealership took care of it, in which state could you, can't you? Then they have to get you the car, get back the old car, sign 45 documents. In New York, they make you sign more documents now. When you get the car, this thing, that thing, there's so much red tape.
Didn't Carvana have like one of these startups had huge issues? They couldn't get titles or something.
We'll get to that in a minute.
That was on the.
But when people call you,
yeah.
when people call you, it's like you have to like do credit checks, find out when their car's up. The new months, the new rates don't come out till a certain date of the month. Getting back their old car, setting up the inspection, getting them the new car, DMV.
What's the question?
I feel like the leasing car companies are doing so much work. You're literally holding the car by the hand, and then they fight with you over every nickel and dime. How do you deal with the stress?
It's retail. So retail is not always the most friendly environment. We're doing this for a long time, so most of our customers are repeat customers. They trust us. They know we're not. We have fair pricing. If somebody comes to us and says they got it for $5 less, we're not going to fight for $5. Our prices are right the first time, and they know it. And when we quote cars, we typically assume that someone's making 2 or 3 phone calls or 2 or 3 email inquiries. So the competitive, we can't be competitive if we're trying to make $1 million on a car. We don't pay our mortgages with one car. It's repeat customers. They know the process. If you set the sale up to begin with 3 years beforehand, if you set it up properly, all these things are non-issues. If the customer is typically, if this type of customer is getting really a lot of bills for damages, we sell him a damage waiver. Before we go ahead and do the inspections for him, he'll send us pictures and we'll say, listen, that's an accident. That's not excess wear and tear. We need to fix that one item before we have the inspection. This way we get everything covered under the excess wear and tear damage waiver. Not everybody needs a waiver. Not everybody needs 15,000 miles a year. Sometimes things happen, but that's the beauty about leasing. You're able to pivot in the middle of the lease. If the guy, there are a lot of banks now that guy took 5,000 mile a year lease and he needed 10,000 because somebody was sick in the family and he's going to Maryland all the time. You're able to purchase miles in the middle of the lease and not lose anything because the penalty is usually like 15 cents more than if you would have purchased it up front. But now, everybody's trying to outdo each other with these banks. So they're all like, okay, you want to change the miles here? Okay, you can buy the extra miles now. You can finance it, but you write a check. And this way you don't lose for doing the extra miles. So all these problems that you say, these situations that you need to do, if you properly sell the vehicle, all these things at the end, it just flows nicely. We have the customers do the application all online and it's all on a secure website. So we don't have to worry about hacking and stuff like that. It's an easy process. When it comes to pricing, yes, it does change monthly. We have 2-3 guys in my office sitting just working all the cars, getting to all the price. Even when we do the pricing, we do pricing sheets so everybody can work off. We still individually price out each and every car. People think they call up, what's a Toyota Camry? What? It's not like that. We got to figure out based on the mileage, based where you live, based on if you need a waiver, if you need gap insurance, all these things that what you need. It takes time to quote out a car.
So one of the things I find interesting is that if we're discussing this pair of boots that I'm wearing, they're usually about $160. So if a guy says he got it for $120 and it's the same color and size, he actually got a $40 discount. I find that whenever I'm at a Shabbos meal or sitting in a sukkah simcha space and guys are discussing, the Mazda CX-90, I'm paying $5. The other guy's like, I'm paying $8. And they think it's the same model. I feel like 99% of the time they have no idea what they're talking about.
So most of the time, you'll see where guys are like here, one guy's here, is simply because one guy is paying based on lower mileage, higher upfront cost. One guy will pay the sales tax up front. The next guy says, "No, I got to put the sales tax in the payment." The next guy's in Florida, which the sales tax is half. Usually, 2 guys are talking over each other. They don't know what they're talking about.
Anytime you're talking about new commodity, there's not much difference in anything. Everything is very transparent.
You can't, again, if you know how to read a lease agreement, there's nothing to hide. It's all
straight
right there.
commodity. This engine, this model, blah, blah, blah. When you look at a used car, if anyone looks at a used car, how much could you know that someone else doesn't know? Like, and what can you look for? Listen, you give us some tips.
So
listening to the engine, looking at the miles.
On a used car, whenever I sell a used car, I'll always tell.
No, when you buy, forget when you sell.
When I sell a used car, okay, I'll always go to the client. I'll say, please take it to your mechanic. Now, again, we're doing mostly local. It's a little bit more difficult when the guy's in Pennsylvania, but locally, I will always say, take it to your mechanic. And if you deal with most car dealers, they'll always tell you, I checked the car out for you. And I don't do that because when you're dealing with a mechanical thing, all right, something breaks in 3 months from now. All I can tell you is my mechanic checked it out and your mechanic checked it out. Nobody saw anything. Stuff happens, right? We can say that here, right? Stuff happens. So when I buy a car, it's, you can tell a car based on the way it looks. If the guy took care of it, typically with every fender is hit, you can probably assume the guy skipped every other oil change. You'll take a look at the guy's tires. He probably never rotated his tires, but those are easy things to overcome. But you typically, you buy a car that listen to the engine, check the transmission. Those are the two big things, and everything else.
Listen to the engine and check the transmission.
Yeah.
And what are you listening for?
You want to make sure it's nice and no knocking noises that wakes this guy up in the middle of the night.
And the transmission, how do you check?
You make sure that it's shifting properly when, each interval.
So if you should drive whatever it is.
When you go drive, you go 10 miles, 50 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles. You make sure it's shifting. Yeah.
Interesting. And brakes? Well, that's...
Brakes, that you got to look at,
Look at the brakes.
Yeah.
But even these things you're mentioning, like the average guy that sat in Koilo and now he works in finance, he's not going to know, you have to go to a mechanic that you trust and that's it.
So Jewish people are not really known for maintaining their vehicles properly. So that's why they're a good candidate for leasing their vehicles. The shorter, the better. The problem is the shorter the lease, the more expensive it is. In the long run, I don't really see that a growing Jewish family should buy cars simply because of the constant change in Baruch Hashem in their needs, whether it's a small car to a bigger car, and then once they have more kids, then I mean minivan. Once they're done with the minivan, they want to get the SUV, and all these different constant changes. When you buy a car or finance a car, and then you want to give back, you want to trade in the car, that's a whole new aspect that they have to now negotiate. And it's difficult. People don't always get top dollar for the trades. They had an accident. They'll say, "Yeah, what's the big deal? I ran over somebody's bicycle. They made a police report, but the car is worth $1,500 less if the Carfax says minor accident." Right? You ran over a bicycle. Nobody knows that. Who cares? When I sell a car, I don't give a copy of the police report. You know what I mean? So it's again, used cars are for people who who know their cars, take care of their cars, and the chachma there is to know when to get out, because that's when they start putting their money.
So what's the sign? Would you give some tips?
You got to have a pulse on it. You got to really pay attention to it. I know when I get certain cars, I will not retail them. I'll only wholesale them. I'll take less money because I don't want to sell that car because I know that car's coming back.
With headaches.
Headaches. Coming back means you usually don't come back to eat herring with me.
How do you know if someone rolled back the miles?
There's a few ways you can tell. First of all, you have every vehicle has its own credit report. It's called Carfax. The Carfax or AutoCheck will tell you if there's an accident reported. It'll tell you what the mileage was reported at certain intervals, like every time you do for an inspection in New York State or in other states. Every time you go to an oil change, sometimes a lot of these companies will register it on the.
It's a massive crime, no? To roll back miles, probably it's a federal crime.
It's a federal crime, yeah. But there's, if the guy is really good, you can get around it because, if he never goes for an oil change, he does his own oil changes. Who knows what he does? But you can tell, again, by the way a car looks. You look at the undercarriage. You look at the...
Someone once told me that in an undisclosed location, there were 40 cars lined up with some guy rolling back miles for return leases.
It's going to be a reel. That's going to be a reel with some big scandal. They're going to catch us.
He said, I thought I would be the only one there, he tells me. He says, no, there are 40 people. I'm like, what? I thought there was like a thing from the 80s, but I guess
there are people who would do that. It's silly. I mean, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous game. It's serious. A serious company wouldn't offer something like that. A serious person wouldn't.
Not a company. He said that he thought some guy, his friend, told him, "Oh, I have this guy," and there was a full anyway.
Right. It's.
I came into the office.
I'm saying more to make people aware that if they buy a used car or something, I'm not telling you to do this, God forbid. But when you buy a used car, having a mechanic, like you said, look it over,
Always.
someone could see if the car says the miles.
Right. If the wear and tear matches the miles, that's
Correct.
what you got to do. Yeah.
So you need someone to really
A mechanic. That's what you got to do.
You said that Jewish people are not good. It's fine. Every time I have an issue with my car, in a rest stop, I just ask any person besides they're not Jewish. They usually know, oh yeah, just do this and that. I'm like,
no, that's if you're going to be hands-on. I'm talking about just maintaining it. It says 10% less. I got 20% left to go. You know, they just, what's the big deal? You know, I don't really do that many miles. And sometimes when the car sits and you do less miles, it's that much more important to do the oil changes, you know, to rotate the tires, because otherwise the tires, you know, the way they sit, it puts more wear on them.
so what are the basic things people should do to keep their car lasting long as possible?
Yeah, you want to do your oil changes. You want to rotate your tires. By just rotating
How
your
often do you have
tires,
to rotate?
you want to do it every oil change, in my opinion. The manufacturer in the book will tell you how much to do it. But if you rotate your tires every oil change, because the intervals between oil changes is longer now, you'll double the life of your tires. Literally double. That means if you rotate it typically, a typical person on a lease would not need to switch their tires.
Gas quality makes a difference or not?
The answer to that is basically go by what the book says. So if your book tells you 87, don't put it in 89. It's just a waste of money. The engines are engineered a certain way. And most of the time, even the ones that say to use the better one, they'll tell you you could use the lower one. And if you hear like pinging, it's like a little noise, then you should switch back to the higher octane.
My friend had a Volvo, and it said in the lease agreement that if he doesn't use the most expensive gas, they could like penalize him.
I doubt it says it like that, but I've never seen that. But the manufacturer, you see, what happens is you go in for an oil change, the guy is right away selling you this expensive synthetic oils. And the reality is when you open the book, because this is the engineers write the books. These are the guys who put the engine together. They tell you what oil to use. You don't go Lifnei Mishursa did, and you don't go above and
So
beyond.
you shouldn't do synthetic.
Whatever the book tells you, that's what it's
I was talking
engineered
about
for.
the gas in the Volvo.
I'm talking about the oil and the gas. If the book tells you 87, that's what you use. If the book tells you 89, you use 89. If you want to be a little cheap, you do it every other one, you'll be okay.
So oil change, rotation, and you're good to go.
Oil change, rotation, you want to make sure the fluids, the brakes, you got to...
The brakes, right.
Yeah, you got to do brakes. Even on the electric cars, you got to do brakes.
One of the things I found interesting is I didn't know who you were, but I knew Izzy Herman. One of your salesmen, Izzy Herman. He comes across as a real Erlich Yerushalayim.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Nice guy. So I asked him, I said, I got to meet your boss. I want to do this interview about cars and car leasing. I came into the office. You know, you have this idea of like car dealerships, a bunch of like rough, tough rednecks. I came in, I felt like I was in Kailo. A bunch of young Chassidish guys, modern Orthodox guys. I got a very, very good vibe. The reason why I'm mentioning it is if people are on the fence about leasing cars or who to deal with for cars, you go to some dealership 3 hours away. You're never going to see the guy away. He wants to make a quick buck. You're dealing with a company that's around 40 years.
Local.
You see who they are.
Speaking of 40 years, I don't know how many retail firm brands exist for as long as you guys.
Yeah,
What is the secret? Like in my head, like thinking of stores, because he's a retail brand. How many firm brands you know from as a little kid that are still around today? Like Real Sleep.
Very few.
Like literally, I don't want to say on my hands.
No, I'll even say names. Growing up, we always shopped at Friedman's in Borough Park. Amazing,
They're still
nicest
around?
people. No, they went out. Kosher Plaza went away. Gene Sons disappeared. Where do they all go?
Yeah.
If they're running a
Avenue
good-
J? What's my favorite restaurant? The fried chicken that exists. Kosher Delight.
Kosher Delight
All
disappeared.
these legacy were all gone, and here he is.
So why do they all
What's the
disappear?
secret?
Yeah,
What's the
fir-
secret?
First secret is own the real estate you're on, so you never get kicked out. That's the first
Do you?
secret. Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
The 18th Avenue.
That's my father's when he set us up.
You owned the 18th Avenue, the little triangle.
Everywhere, every point where I moved from, I sold.
What's on the 18th Avenue? There's a building now.
Some guy bought and made a nice triangle building.
Nice.
I don't
So always
know,
own the land.
I don't know how he put a building there. I mean, I was barely able to put 10 cars in there.
That was your iconic little triangle there.
Yeah, but again,
Mendelssohn's
Baruch
Pizza.
Hashem made us.
Mendelssohn's Pizza stood the test of time. There you go.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little mazel in that little
A
area.
couple of fires you had helped you out.
Yeah, and then the next thing is it's the repeat business. So the business model from the beginning was you take a guy, you sell him a car every 3 years. The only way you're going to get him back is be straightforward with the guy. It doesn't mean I have to tell him, don't worry about your damages, we'll take care of it. That's not what it means. It means, don't worry about your damages, I'll help you with your damages. Always straightforward, don't overpromise, overdeliver. Every 3 years, the same guy is coming back. Now, the same guy, then his wife needs a car, then his kids needs a car, then his cousins, his co-workers, his boss, or his workers. Whatever it is we grow the business that way. And Baruch Hashem, that's what's been working for us, and it's generational, where I know the parents, I know the grandparents already at this point, and it's even the people who move to Lakewood, people who go to Baltimore.
And you could service national, right?
We could go national, but we go to Florida. We'd go all the way down to Florida a lot. We do a lot of Lakewood and a lot of.
Because if you're a broker, you can broker
Pennsylvania.
a dealership anywhere in America. And am I wrong?
Again, it's yes and no, but a lot of times the out-of-state dealers even make it easier for us to make a living. So the first question is,
I moved to Cincinnati. Can you get me a car?
yeah, for sure.
All right, you just work with the local
So
dealer.
you call your office, you do all the negotiations, all the paperwork, and then you just have a dealership in Cincinnati, drive it to his driveway.
No, we do everything ourselves. Where we'll pick up the car. In this case, if it's in Cincinnati, we'll ship it on a truck.
Oh, so you won't get a local Cincinnati.
That's what I was thinking.
Typically not, because the concept of guys like me is you need to have a relationship where I'm buying these vehicles at basic dead cost at dead cost, and these guys are just say, hey, Shlomie, take the cars, please, just take them. The guys in Ohio are not going to do that. They're more relaxed. They don't have the intense competition that is over here. They have their dock fees are like $700-800. They can't compete with us.
Being in business this long, how many of your former salespeople opened their own company, and how do you feel about that?
So only one time did it happen to me that two of my guys went out. They did it in a dirty way. When somebody works for me, they're not my slaves. What's mine is my sales, my customers, my database, my customers. They're my customers. If a customer follows them, that's okay. I don't own the customer, but if they're calling the customer because they're going into my database, that's not straight. That's the only time it happened to me, and it happened in a dirty way. But
Only once.
only once.
After over 40 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
37 years.
In general, what do you think someone's attitude should be if their employee leaves and open their own company? It seems to me
Listen,
like a free market thing.
If you can't keep the guy there, and the guy needs to move on, you got to let him go. You don't own the person.
So why does it seem to me there's a weird relationship that bosses have that I think it's delusional. You tell me otherwise. If you have an employee who wants to grow further, you capped him here, he's going to open his own company. Why is there all this anger and hate? And I taught him, what do they expect? What they should expect? Where's the line?
Hold on. Last guest we had a couple of days ago said that in the From world, you put in $50,000 training the guy because he's not doing anything the first few months. Then you pay a salary for 6 months. You just put in, he said, $100,000. And when he's competent, after that $100,000, the next day he goes and opens on himself. So he says it's $100,000 straight in the dirt. He said,
So you
in
pay
the
for
earth,
your competition.
you pay for your competition.
That's a very sarcastic, but what's your opinion?
The
There seems to be a very weird, delusional on all sides. Tell me what you think.
Again, the only time I feel anger should come in is if the guy really just does it in a dirty way and he steals.
What's considered dirty? What's considered clean?
Clean way is the guy says, "I'm leaving. I'm gonna put on my own ads. I'm gonna earn my own customers, and he's gonna start the business from scratch." That's legit. If the guy says, "Hey, this book of business that's here, they belong to me," which they don't belong to him, they belong to Wheels to Lease. And they take that, and that's the book of business that they're going to call off of. That's stealing. It's black and white.
You're saying that the differentiation is if they call him your former employee versus he calls them.
for sure.
That's the main
For
distinction.
sure. So if he goes
When
ahead,
does that mean now you make your employees sign non-competes, or
I don't do it. I don't do non-competes because they're worthless in New York State. And realistically, if someone wants to leave, they can leave. I don't hold them back. Again, just don't call my clients. That's all. And I've had guys leave, and they went into the business. They didn't start on their own. They went into an adjacent business, car related. All nice. We still talk. We still invite each other to each other's simchas. There's no reason for it to be nasty. And again, if you believe in God, you don't need to steal.
I would say you're also one of the, if I can think of the most forefront companies on the marketing, it's definitely your company. What's your opinion, and where's your best dollar spent for a business when it comes to marketing?
Marketing.
And I see you evolved like 50 times.
It's changed tremendously. I mean, where it used to be all print, you do all the new in the country ussies and the Fortune magazines, and you get everybody on Shabbos. That's what they're opening up, and that's what they're reading. Then you did email marketing, which is still a strong positive.
Email to your existing or randoms?
We build up our email, our customer base, and constantly send out our specials. We're doing our SEOs where we're trying to organically build up when people search car leasing, Brooklyn or Long Island or Lakewood, our name should come up.
What's your pay-per-click?
So we don't do pay-per-clicks because you're chasing something there. It's difficult because it's a highly competitive market. And the quality of those leads tend not to be great. So the organic leads seem to be much fuller leads, and then right now we got to start working on AI.
What's your favorite minivan?
Favorite minivan? That's a good one. It depends what's the cheapest, right?
Cheapest? How much difference is a Chrysler Pacifica than a Sienna? I know the price.
So the Chryslers used to be $200 cheaper. They couldn't get rid of them, so that would be $200 cheaper. Right now, the Odysseys are the best deal. This is again January 2026.
No, but what's
the Chrysler Pacifica does not make a car anymore, do they?
They do.
Yeah.
They still. I heard.
I just rented in Florida.
Somebody told me they're stopping to make it.
It's possible.
They're stopping that. You had
so.
a hybrid. It was great. The electric and the gas.
The rumor is that Toyotas and Hondas are the best cars in the world, and if you buy them used, they would be the best car to get. And if you buy it used, it's also the best because it will have most resale value.
True or false?
Toyota and Hondas, you can't say an investment when you buy a car because cars depreciate. But Toyotas and Hondas do retain their value. I would say Toyota's a little bit better than Hondas, and that's why they lease so well, because they retain their values.
So you're saying if a Mazda is going to lease an exact same car for $500 a month and a Toyota is for $700 a month, and financing would be similar, if somebody might buy out the car and then want to flip it one day, it would be a much better investment. Again, not an investment.
It wouldn't be like that. So on a lease, if we're talking about the same car, a lot of times the Mazda needs to subsidize highly in order to compete with the Toyota. So the Toyota, which let's say the Toyota will sell at MSRP because there's a demand for that car, and the Mazda will sell it at $1,000 under invoice, let's say. You'll still have it, it'll have a difficult time competing with the resale value of a Toyota, and it still needs to be subsidized. So a lot of times the Mazda would be the better deal because in the long run it's cheaper. But when you're a fan, someone's a fan of a Subaru, someone's a fan of a Honda, Toyota, you pay extra for that. That's what they want.
Being that today's show is more about business, not more hashkafa. I mean, we're getting a lot of hashkafa.
We do hashkafa about former employees.
We're doing that, but a lot of it is about financing, money, business, making a decision. 99% of people in the world work for somebody. You have an employer, you come 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 10 to 4, whatever. I just left the company after a gazillion years. Now I'm on my own.
Actually, Clappy's only past work history is an electronics company and a leasing company.
I don't want to talk about car leasing.
Oh, okay. You don't want to talk about car leasing.
It was a short.
What are we talking about?
Short career. No. About me personally, it was a very short thing for a
short stint.
My question is that a lot of people are watching the show and they're saying, "Oh, I work for a car company, or I work for this company, electronic company. Why is the boss making all the money? I could also. But when I came into your company and I saw all the overhead and the property, I didn't even know you own the property and 1 million workers, and everything going on every single day.
Taking the risks.
I want to say, what do you tell young people that work for people and they think they're just going to get up and start on their own? What's your general advice?
So my own salespeople, which they're commission based, and I tell them, you can sell a car for nothing. You can make $10. It's all in their hands. Because the reality is we're partners. They don't work for me. I'm giving them the tools. I'm paying for all the overhead, but we're partners. We're building the customer base together.
I definitely got that vibe in the office.
Yeah, no, it's the only way it can work, and that's why these guys are with me, 15, 20 years.
That says everything.
Yeah, to think you can just go out there, I don't think anybody really thinks they can just go out there and start a business and have no overhead. You'll have a guy who does car service and also leasing, I heard already, like while they're doing their Uber ride, they're calling up dealerships or other places, trying to get pricing for the guy in the back seat. He's trying to get himself out of business. But
that's creative. That's creative.
That's creative, yeah. But,
I respect that.
Can you do it? Yeah, you can do it. You can't do it in volume, but you'll have a guy who works in a warehouse. He tries to do a little bit of leasing. I have guys who come to me all the time. Hey, can you give me a commission? I'll bring you sales. The answer is always yes. Why not? Bring me some business and it works out. They're talking to the customer. They're doing all the work. I'm doing all the back end work. They're doing the front end work. You can be a part-time salesman by me. No, it's no difference.
Any suggestions on car insurance?
Car insurance is difficult. It's not like it used to be. Brooklyn, it's become difficult. For a new driver, people are going on their parents' policy, and then when they get to a certain age, they're able to get off their policies. But it's a challenge right now, insurance.
The first time I got a car, I was in my 30s already, so Geico gave me a really cheap rate. And then I got into a small accident, sadly, within a very short period of time, and they went up $1 gazillion. And then I was just getting ripped off for many months. And then a friend of mine worked for Allstate. He said, did you ever price out Allstate? I said, no. A few weeks after that, I called a bunch of companies and they were all crazy. This was about 11, 12 a year later. He said, let me price it. Then Allstate came in at $150 cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're slowly going up every month.
Right.
How often should people be getting quotes on car insurance?
So the funny thing is, people will make you crazy when on the retail side. $5 less, $6 less, and they don't shop their insurance. It makes zero sense to me. It's every 6 months to a year, you should be at least going online, checking your insurance out. I've seen differences, and Geico is a great company. I hope they're going to be paying for this advertising, but Geico is a good customer service-oriented company, but they're not the cheapest. And you have other companies. We recommend a couple of different brokers. They didn't pay, so I'm not going to say their names. But you have other companies, and there could be a difference, like Allstate, $300-400 a year cheaper. Now, Allstate's not the best customer service when it comes to a car, because we have our own shop and we deal with them when they get into accident. They're not the greatest, but in the end of the day, they cover. They're a real insurance company, and they're cheaper.
Who's the greatest?
Geico. I would say Geico's a good company.
Service.
Yeah, they're a good company.
I just had a claim with them on a rental car. I rented a car. My car was in the shop. I was so impressed. I felt like there was a luxury service. They on top of it.
They didn't
respond.
You didn't go against your credit card?
My credit card didn't cover it. I had one of these cheap credit cards.
Got to think that through.
People rent cars dozens of times a year, especially in the Frum community, Pesachs and Sukkot and Chalamoy trips, and they need a bigger car to go to the country. Every time people rent cars, they're so confused. My American Express covers, bumper to bumper doesn't. I had a relative that said, I don't mind getting ripped off $20 a day. I need bumper to bumper. And I say, what do you mean bumper to bumper? And he told the guy at the desk, he's like, I'm going to take the car now and I'm going to smash it right against the wall. You're just going to give me another set of keys to another car and I'm never going to get billed for $1. And the guy behind the desk said, that's what bumper to bumper is going to cover. Should people get bumper to bumper?
I don't know the nuances if the credit card company covers it. I know in New York State, they're not allowed to charge more than, I think, for $100 worth of damages. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who takes the risk.
What's your favorite luxury brand? Do you have a favorite for you? It's all just numbers. Do you have any cure about cars at all at your point in life?
So my wife always gets a new car every few years. I got my first new car just recently. I got an electric car because it was for free. I got it. And I say free, it was like under $200 a month.
Promo.
And it's a $75,000 car. And I'm enjoying it.
Rivian?
No, it was a Jeep Wagoneer S. And it's
Is it 200 for everyone or just for you?
It was at that time too. So if it would have been for somebody else, it would have been 201 because I make $1 a month on everybody.
Oh, the Wagoneer right now is. I'm just curious. It's not on promo now.
I don't know what Rivian and Tesla only sell directly to the consumer.
Got you.
You have something to drink?
Are you the first electric car ever?
For me, it was the first. I mean, I've had golf carts. I sell golf carts. I
wanted to talk
You
about
sell
it.
golf carts?
I wanted to talk about this. You said in the office that you have a dealership upstate.
Right.
And I think upstate is 300,000 from a year then go every summer. And you said that you have these like off-terrain vehicles. So I want you to plug that. Tell us about that business.
What we have.
Was that a midlife crisis project?
It was a project that I was trying to get something else, and I ended up with that.
Okay.
But again, all from Mina Shemayim. I sell Bobcat. Bobcats are the lawn maintenance division, which is mini tractors, ride-on lawnmowers, excavators, and stuff like that.
Not snowmobiles, ATVs.
And then I sell Polaris. I do not sell the snowmobile line, but I do sell ATVs, UTVs. We also sell Slingshot. Those
What
are
about
three
the
vehicles.
golf carts? All the fancy bungalow colonies. Every yenta drives around in an expensive golf cart.
We do sell the Bentelli's golf carts or lithium batteries, backup cameras, Bluetooth.
I want to know about the golf carts because I go out to the country in the summer a lot, and I also want to fit in with the cool people with the golf cart with the kids hanging on in the back with the Bluetooth speaker. Right. I want to feel chashiv. Tell me about the golf carts.
What do you need to know? You have 4 passengers, 6 passengers.
What do they retail?
I think they're like $11,000, $12,000.
Can I take a lease on one?
No, you can't take a lease, but you can trade it in every year.
You could trade it in every year?
Yeah, we'll buy it back from you.
Pay $13,000 and sell it back to you?
I'm not paying $13,000.
No, it sounds like a lot of paperwork. What's the easier way to get these fancy golf carts?
You buy it, and the only thing you need to do is store it, which we do store for people. Units.
You need insurance on them?
So usually your homeowners would actually cover that. If you want to drive it on the street, you would need to get plates, which those things are street legal.
When people say that a new car you drive off a lot, it goes down value, I don't know, 20%. Is that true or false?
I don't know about the percentage, but it does take a nice hit.
How much? What would you guesstimate?
20%.
20%?
I heard it somewhere, 20%.
So when it goes off, it means that after a certain amount of miles, it drops 20%, or the fact that it was once sold?
Once the title changes from new to used, that is what it goes down. So in other words, if I take a brand new car and I'll sell it with the birth certificate is called an MSO. If I sell a car with an MSO that's a brand new vehicle, you can sell it as brand new. Once I have to sell it as used, even with 1 mile, you're going to get a lot less money. Now, again, most people would still pay top dollar for a 1 mile car because the story is pretty self-evident. It's a brand new car. But once it's a used car, it takes a hit.
What's this? My mother always says, as long as it's all-wheel drive. I'm in New York. I need all-wheel drive. I mean, it does snow maybe every winter 2-3 times, an inch to 4. Do you need all-wheel drive in New York?
I mean, front-wheel drive should be enough.
What's back-wheel drive? Sports cars?
Rear-wheel drive is the old Lincoln Town cars. Good cars. Cargo vans are rear-wheel drive. So rear-wheel drive, since the weight is in the front by the engine, so when the wheels don't have weight on it, so it spins when it's on snow or ice. When you have front-wheel drive, the engine's there right on top of the wheels, so it typically will have better traction. Now, the one thing I could tell you about all-wheel or four-wheel drive, if you don't have good tires, it's not going to help.
What's the difference between all-wheel and four-wheel?
Four-wheel is it's all the time on four-wheel. All-wheel is typically electronic, where it'll switch between wheels depending on its need.
Interesting. The typical consumer, like my wife and I, the first time we were getting a car, we only had one kid. Should we get a sedan? Should we get a crossover? Should we get a minivan because in 5 years from now we might need it? Should we get a minivan because you could put down the third row and have cargo? These are the conversations going on in millions of people's homes right now.
So if the father-in-law is paying and he wants a lot of grandchildren, should get him a 15-passenger van. Skip the minivan. All right, that's if the father-in-law is paying. Realistically, that's one of the reasons I would say take a 2 or 3 year, depending on what the planning of the family is, on a smaller car. It's cheaper. It's easier to move to get around. You want to factor in at least every year and a half another kid. So if they already have 2 kids, a small car is not going to make sense. You want to get an SUV where you can at least put the carriages in the back easily and have 2, 3 child seats in there. There's nothing like the practicality of a minivan. A lot of people don't like it because it's not cool.
Could they make a minivan that's classy?
I would love them to make a minivan that actually a regular door, not a sliding door. I think that'll make a big difference, but nobody's asking me. So.
Regular, or like a open.
Like a regular door, like it'll look like just a big station wagon, a tall station wagon.
Why don't they?
Yeah.
What's the relationship?
We can start a campaign right now.
What's the relationship between dealers, leasing people? What's that like? I see these petitions that come out every few years.
Between dealers,
I don't know. I just see these petitions.
You have dealers who are, actively trying to close down that industry, the market of the brokering. I'm kind of grandfathered in. I have a license, since I'm doing this so long, that I'm allowed to sell new and used cars, any make, any model, while the dealers can only sell their brand that they franchise. I cannot do warranty work, but other than that, I can do everything they can do. But they're trying to put an end to the basement guys working in a basement, the guys who, get just a storefront and 3 guys working, because to them it looks like it's unfair competition. To that,
they don't like free market.
They don't like the free market. To that, I say they kind of created this industry because people hate going to dealers, and it's not like it changed. I mean, I get stories all the time. They say, well, I got a quote from the dealer in writing, because now everything's done in email, and the dealer doesn't deliver. They'll just try every
just to get you in the door, and then they screw you.
To get you correct. And if you're not willing to go down there and they're doing everything over the email, that's when things start to unravel for them. By me, it's like, I'm going to give you the number, get it, let's get it done.
They created the inefficiency.
They created the animosity. With the dealers are not liked. You can make a fancy showroom, you can put a suit on a monkey, but it's still a monkey, right? It's just they get these fancy showrooms and they don't treat people right. I mean, it's all about how much can we get out of this guy.
So whose issue is it? The manufacturer or the dealer, or all the above?
I mean, the manufacturer has to deal with the reputational issue, but people still need cars.
Would you say the luxury brands also have that same problem, that they're not so ethical, or it runs across?
The luxury brands, I would say no. They'll be a little bit more ethical, but they're a little bit definitely. I would say a little more straight.
Slightly more.
Yeah.
When you service a car in a dealer versus an independent mechanic, what's the price difference?
So when you go to a dealer, if it's under warranty, you're in good shape.
Right, but if you're not,
what you need to be careful about going to the dealer is.
All I know is that the free food is by the repair shop, right. Not when you buy a car.
You can go.
So I'm guessing
you
that
can go
the
into the waiting room. You can go there.
I had a leased car.
Hold on,
I'm sorry. Go on.
What's the risk you're going to bring your car to?
So you don't want to go to a dealer if you're going to just do maintenance unless it's for free, unless it's a special. Now, if they give you a special like a $29 oil change, you want to make sure that they don't upsell you on things you don't need. So if they're giving you a $29 oil change and they charge you $100 to rotate the tires, it was no Metzia, because your guy is going to do everything for $50. The issue of going to a new car dealer for the warranty work, that's where you got to go, because if you go to a regular mechanic, he's going to charge you.
Right.
And he's not doing it for free. When you go to the new car dealer, the manufacturer will pay. The problem is some dealers have a reputation of things not being under warranty, and they start making things up. And that's when you need to be careful. So depending on what the problem is, I'll generally tell a customer, say, hey, you got a knocking noise every time when you're making a left turn. Go to your regular mechanic, check out the tire. Maybe you have a rock stuck in the tire, maybe you have a nail stuck in the tire. Because you go to a dealer, they find that, they'll plug it for $100, and then they'll tell you another $150 to diagnose it, all for something that you could take care of yourself. So you got to be careful of what you're going to go to the new car dealer for on the warranty work side. But typically for warranty work, you want to go to a dealer.
I had a car a few years ago, a brand new Mazda, and every time I was turning the wheel, there was like something was getting stuck. So I brought it into the dealership, like an hour drive. They gave me a loaner for a day, and then they sent me a video that there was a bolt that went loose in the
Right.
actual wheel, whatever. And they said everything is perfect, it's ready for pickup. And then a guy calls me up 20 minutes later. By the way, we could do this, and we could filter this,
Upsell.
and we could do this, and we could for $300. I said, don't do anything.
You can't blame them for upselling because they're there to make a living. The problem is if they sell you things you don't need. That's the problem.
What are typical things they try to sell you don't need?
It really depends on how many miles you have and stuff like that. And again, if you go by the book, when I say the book, by the manufacturers, by the manual, and if they're telling you you need to change a timing chain by a certain amount of miles and you didn't reach that plateau, you don't do it. It's as simple as that. And then even if the dealer says, well, till the next time you get here, you don't do it unless the book recommends it. And if it's not under warranty, you typically will be cheaper anyways to get it done by an independent mechanic. But you just got to make sure cars are more complicated today. And you need to make sure you got a guy who knows what he's doing.
Today's cars, there's so many digital things going on. You turn the car, it says, "Are you tired? Maybe pull over." Just because you made a sharp turn. And it says the mileage on the window. There's digital things. When you were a kid, there was nothing. It was our radio, maybe if it worked sometimes for some radio stations. How many times are people getting into major issues with their car that are not really like the muffler or the brakes, but because there's a digital sensor that are off? And are those issues easier or cheaper to fix than mechanical problems?
So the easiest problems to fix are generally the things that's constantly happening. So when you go to the dealer and it's not happening, that's a difficult thing. If the check engine light goes on and goes off, there is a history in the computer of what it was, so they can check it. But if the battery dies in between, sometimes it doesn't save that information. But that's one of the more problematic issues when something electronic goes bad, and if it's not happening all the time, like when you close your car, the mirrors are supposed to close in, but it doesn't always close. It's probably user error anyways, and you probably have to change a setting. But that's one of those things. And to be honest, most dealers, they don't even know their own products. Then when you call them up, when I have a question, I'll have to sit and I'll read the manual for the customer sometimes to figure out some of these problems.
Third party. Okay, you go first.
A guy wants to lease a car, and he says, I can lease it under my name, just here's my name, my legal name, my social, run my cheddar. Or he has 25 different corporations and entities and LLCs and non-for-profits. What? No, everybody today has a shul, a meister, a yeshiva, a PTA club.
Corporation.
What's the best way to lease a car? I'm thinking about it myself.
You have to reverse engineer from the insurance. The insurance, you're right. The insurance is pretty much the more expensive part of the transaction. That's why I say shop your insurance once a year minimum. This way you can save some money that way. Sometimes you're stuck in insurance because you had an accident, and for the next 5 years you can't because nobody else will take you at a reasonable number. So the first thing is shop the insurance. If you're going to do it on a tax exempt entity, yeah, you saved you $30-$40 a month on the sales tax. But what about now you're paying $100 more than on the insurance?
Why would the insurance be $100
Because
more?
It's a corporation, so it's a commercial policy. And now you got to register it on the corporation. So you can't register the car in your name and say you're tax exempt. You know what I mean? So it has to be on the corporation, and the insurance is much higher. Typically, not all the time. Sometimes somebody's license is so bad, their corporation is cheaper than.
So it's an individual case by case.
Right. So, but the best way to reverse engineer is doing it through the insurance company.
Third party aftermarket warranties. What's your opinion? Are any of them legit?
I actually deal with a company. I had a company I dealt with when all the companies, it was one time where everybody went out of business. I didn't get too hurt by that. The law with those situations are if a company goes out of business, a warranty company.
Oh, so that's their trick? They just go out of business?
No, right. Is
that their business model?
So they have to be underwritten by an insurance company. So there was one company I dealt with way in the beginning. I learned the hard way where it went out of business, and they had nobody. The underlying insurance company also went out.
Can you recommend any legit ones that exist today, and is it worth it?
Yes. So you have to make sure that the insurance companies who are behind it
Are legit.
are A-rated and stuff like that.
Typical case happens.
So hold on. Are there legit aftermarket? Is it worth it for used car owners? Yes. And which one would you recommend?
The person you have to rely on the person who's selling to you, the reputation. That's what you need to rely on, because there's no way a person off the street is going to be able to trust some random
What are they
phone
called?
call.
Aftermarket warranties? What's the word?
Aftermarket warranty. So you're getting a phone call from a random person,
Oh,
a cold call about your warranty. How do you know that company? You
So
understand?
could you recommend anyone on here on camera?
Well, we sell warranties.
You sell warranties?
We sell
Okay, so
warranties,
Cole
but
will
we
sell
only
these.
sell warranties on the vehicles we sell.
Oh, not randoms.
Right. So
So I have my car currently that I bought another dealer, used car dealer. I can't call you to get a warranty.
not unless we inspect the vehicle. So what happens is we
Oh, great. I
every
didn't know
insurance
that.
policy goes into our pool, and that pool we get rated on that pool. If our pool is a highly claims pool, that's a problem, and then our rates go up, and we got to keep the rates low for everybody. So
Interesting.
I'm not going to bring in some guy went to the auction and just wants to cover a car with a transmission.
So when would you recommend it to your clients?
When they buy a used car, we give them an
Oh,
option.
Okay, so I'll bring my car over. I like
Somebody
the
gets a 36-month lease, and then after the 36 months, he still likes his car, and he's looking around them. It happened to me. You're looking around new cars, and the prices are very expensive. And you think, if I wait a month, if I wait another month, and you're calling up the bank, their internal bank, and they're letting you extend it month by month by month by month. They just changed the tax a little bit. They said the tax rate changed a little bit. And now I have a friend that's telling me he was doing it once, like on a car for like a year and a half past the lease. Are there any risks?
So sometimes the banks will allow you to take that long. A lot of times they'll make you do an extension, not a month by month. Not all banks allow month to month, but you'll have to do an extension. When you do the extensions, the risk is basically the mechanical risk. So most, let's say Nissan, when you do that, they have a 5-year engine transmission. So you're really just now risking the water pump, the condensers and stuff like that. All right, it's not the end of the world if you're really just looking to push it off. If you're looking to purchase the vehicle at that point, you may as well just purchase it at the end of the lease, do a finance, which of course we can handle for the client, and you can purchase a warranty to mitigate any risks of the car breaking down, because the bumper-to-bumper part is typically off at the 36 months.
About the damage waiver we discussed probably 45 minutes ago. Damage waiver is people have like a $5,000 damage waiver if the shopping cart and bingo bumps into your car.
Right. So it's a little misleading, $5,000 damage waiver. First of all, some banks have, it's called an excess wear and tear waiver, not a damage waiver. And the nuance there is damages can be from accident. If it's an accident, it's not, you got to go through your insurance company.
Never covered. A real accident, not
It's
covered.
not covered. So if someone is driving down, Route 17, hits a deer, and he gets an estimate of $7,000, and he says, you know what? $5,000 waiver, I'll write a $2,000 check. It doesn't work. That's an extreme case. But typically, if one damage itself is $1,000, it usually won't be covered. So what that means is, let's assume you have a scratch from the back all the way to the front. When I say a scratch, I'm talking a scrape where it goes into the car, and it's obvious that it was the same garbage truck that took the same incident. That would not be covered. So we have to fix certain parts of that to make sure that the other parts get covered. That's where we step in.
So it's a gray area of what they'll cover, how much is each damage, what type of damage.
It's not a gray area. It's just they don't cover collision. So we just have to make sure things are covered by non-collision items. So that's why I say if a car has $5,000 in damage, I don't know how it can't be collision. How can you have $5,000 in damages? But it does cover up to $5,000 of damages.
Excess wear and tear.
Excess.
Excess wear and tear on a typical lease is what, like $600?
So is there a typical, right? In Crown Heights, it's a little higher than
Your
Borough Park.
average lease that you do every day.
So the typical wear and tear I'll see is about $700-800.
So you throw it into 36 months, it's an extra $28 a month, whatever the math is.
Right. So the waiver cost, if we were to sell the waiver, you're talking about, I'm saying $700-800 is typical damages that we see.
No, the actual waiver, the excess wear and tear, how much does that cost?
$595.
$595
Today,
plus tax.
January 2026.
Plus tax. Plus
I
tax.
love it.
Plus tax, yeah.
It's about $650. So that averages another $25, let's say, into your lease. Do you tell people, not push it, do you tell people to take it?
The way I sell it is basically most people are leasing time and time again. And I ask them, how much damage did you have on your previous vehicle? And if they had 2-3 vehicles, so they have an average of what they come back with in damages. So if you have an average damages of $700-800, you're going to spend $600 now I don't know if it really pays. You know, if you have $1,400 damages, it does pay. A lot of times, the reason I would say it doesn't pay $700-800, even though it's only $600, is because most manufacturers, if you stay with them, they give you $500 right off the top. So that means you need to have $1,100 worth of damages just to start paying forward. So it really depends on the person. And again, not all damages are covered by these waivers, but that's where we're there to hold your hand.
The answer
with
to
that.
many questions is that it's really a case-by-case basis.
For sure.
When to buy, when to get used, when to lease, when to get a longer lease, more mileage, access wear and tear. So it's not just a one-time, buy a TV, who's $20 cheaper, Costco versus another retailer.
It's not about the payment by itself.
It's about having a relationship with Wheels to Lease.
Right. So again, I train the people who work with me. I tell them all the time, ask the questions. People say, I don't know how many miles I do. I need 10,000 miles a year. So I'll right away, I'll get their VIN number. I'll check Carfax. I see every year what it was for the mileage. And I say, you're averaging 6,000 miles a year. Why do you need 12? So then they'll tell me a story. Well, I didn't work for 2 of those 3 years. Okay. That's a different story. So now
Real doctor checkup.
Yeah.
Also, with the finance and a lease, another extra hidden fee is you need full coverage versus if you buy a car, you don't need full coverage.
You're buying a $50,000 car, no coverage.
I'm just saying.
But
if you finance a used car, I'm saying cover it.
You need anytime you're touching with a bank, you'll need full coverage. Your liabilities can be different if you own versus leasing.
But how much more a year full coverage costs in New York? $2,000 to $3,000?
I would add $1,500, $2,000 max.
Guy's driving down McDonald Avenue, and he slightly spaces out, and he bumps into a car in front of him, and he gets a little hit. He zets. You don't know if that damage is going to be $200 or $800 or it's going to be a new bumper. And the screaming, yelling match goes on. And a lot of the times the two drivers say, you know what? Well, here's your cell phone number. Call me. We change each other, take pictures of each other's driver's license and insurance. Let's see if we could work this out on our own. Mm-hmm. So I one time was driving a company van, a 15-passenger van for a company. I was very young.
Company?
Your father-in-law?
Whose company's van was I driving? I don't want to say.
What type of business was it?
No, I worked for a company. We were at their event last night.
Oh, okay.
I was driving their 15-passenger van. I smashed into on Kingston Avenue. I smashed into some nice guy mirror, and I said, "I take full responsibility. I don't know. I misaligned or whatever." I sent them to a car dealership. It was $250. I gave the guy $250 cash. We shook hands. We were best friends, and the guy actually said, "I never dreamt you were going to be so honest," because I didn't want insurance making a whole story. Are there a lot of people that it ends up working well where you should always just say, call my insurance, have a good day?
So the again, if they touch your insurance, it's not a good thing. Some guys will try to take advantage of you.
They'll try to double dip.
Not double dip. They'll try to take advantage of you. So you have to be careful. I mean, what I recommend if you get into any type of fender bender, I recommend taking a video and a video of the conversation you're having with the guy. Most people at the scene are typically honest. And they'll say what happened, and that'll kind of cover you. And
later on, they speak to their friends.
Assuming it's always the other person's fault. You know what I mean?
I don't want me. I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah, it's too early to be flashbacks, right? That's going to
We've been talking about what are we doing now?
Now we're going to be talking about, last week I said the microphone. We want to talk a little bit about our corporate sponsors. Roskins. I don't only advertise it and eat it on the show, but Shabbos, we brought home the gravlax. We brought home the gefilte fish. The tuna salad with scallions. I had 2 bagels and tuna yesterday. Delicious. Their egg salad is also very good. And we brought a whole bunch of stuff today from Roskins. They have a custom-made pickle that's flat that when you put your herring on it, you don't have to take a big, thick bite.
Oof, that was close. Oh, man.
Kichel, you said you don't want fish. Kichel, you don't want?
No. You have to keep his good looks, Clappy.
Yeah. You got to go to the gym. For me, it's natural. Just don't eat.
Ready to eat half-cured tuna. This is the highest grade of tuna.
This?
The highest grade.
Like the ones the Japanese sell them for $1 million, Clappy?
Take it. Oh, the black pepper.
Saul, what's your favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant?
Are you a restaurant guy or no?
Not a restaurant guy. My favorite food.
Favorite food?
Cholent.
Cholent?
Good cholent.
Who's your favorite cholent? Favorite takeout, or only
my wife.
Custom
made. the right meat.
She's
the right
Ashkenazi or Sephardi?
She's an Ashkenazi girl.
The eggs in the challah?
No eggs in the chon.
Very good.
The Butcher, CH Butcher, they have a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous 5-star restaurant on Troy Avenue. And then they have a gorgeous deli, meat shop on Albany Avenue, CH Butcher. They keep trying new flavors for that beef jerky. This is teriyaki. I'm not going to get fleishik at 10 in the morning.
Is it 10? What time is it now?
11:20.
11:24.
Wow, we're here.
Smells.
Feels like 5 minutes already. Wow. Ooh, smells good. Thank you.
Well, so thank you to our sponsors, Roskins and CH Butcher, both Crown local businesses.
32 flavors. 32 flavors of herring.
The tuna is really good.
Herring Toscana. We'll have that in the car. And we have red pepper herring.
Clappy, I parked on the street. Think I'm going to get a ticket? What's your guess?
Find
put
out.
It happens 50-50 if you get a ticket.
Give a guess.
Well, who cares? We can
I just
enjoy
say
the
yes or no. I want to
herring.
we'll find out
Herring.
after.
What do we care?
Let me ask you, do you guys have any merch?
We have to get merch. We have to get
Not yet.
Red Kirkland? What is it called?
Kickerland.
Kickerland.
All right.
Anyways, I want to thank Shlomie Hershkop for coming on to the show.
I learned a lot.
Well, I learned a lot as well.
You're an old Leasing guy, so how much did
Anyways,
you learn?
I would definitely recommend if anybody wants to have the Hamish experience. You mind if I give a plug for Izzy? You know, he's a great.
He's a good boy.
Izzy
He's
Herman,
one of
good
my
friend,
top guys there.
Top guy, Izzy Herman, Erlicha Yirei Shemayim, and you're dealing with the top guys, Shlomie and the team, coming with 40 years experience. It doesn't
Crazy.
get better.
37.
37 years. See, I'm always a cheerleader for the new guy in the block. But as I got older, I just want to deal with the guy who did it for 40 years. Secretly, I want to go to the OGI.
There's not an issue that didn't go through your
pulled.
desk. There's any issue that could come up with went through your
That's
desk.
what I do all day. Put out those fires, make sure people are happy.
All right, thank you so much. A lot of hatzlacha.
Thank you so much.